Thursday, September the 28th, 1997. We're in Columbus, Ohio at the 12th Armored Reunion. And I'm visiting this morning with Wesley Ferguson. And my name is Charlie Henson. Wesley, I thank you for letting us interview you today. And I first want to start out with, give us your full name and where you were born and when you were born.
My name was Wesley Ferguson, B. Ferguson. I was born in Rocky Ford, Colorado in 1924.
Okay, tell me your parents' names.
Pearl Ferguson and Burl Ferguson.
What was your mother's name before she got married?
Myers, Pearl Myers.
Okay, did they come from Colorado also?
No, they were, my dad was born in Illinois. I don't know what town. My mother was born in St. Clair County, Missouri.
Okay, so when did they go to Colorado?
I don't really know.
Okay. Tell me, do you have brothers and sisters?
I've got two sisters living. One died about 9 years ago.
Okay. So how many children in all that lived at your parents' home?
There was four of us.
And what were their names?
Mitty, Ruby, and Viola.
So you're the only son. Where were you in the pecking order?
I was the youngest.
The youngest, okay.
With three older sisters.
When you think of your childhood, what is the thing that kind of sticks out in your mind about how you fit in with all those sisters?
Well, we had good time because they was much older. They took care of me.
Okay. If you were to describe your father, how would you describe your father to me?
Oh, well, I've thought a lot of him. He died when I was 12 years old, so I don't know real lot about him, but I thought he was a good man.
Okay, tell me about your mother. What about your mother that helped y'all survive after your father passed away?
Well, she raised me, finished raising me, and a niece and nephew that was younger than I am. She had no education, but we survived.
If you were to
She
think
put us to work.
Okay, you worked. When did you go to work?
Oh, we worked in the fields.
Oh, okay. So y'all were a
To
farm.
keep us out of trouble.
Okay, y'all were a farm family?
Well, yeah, my dad was a farmer most of his life, but he quit farming before he died.
Okay. With your mom and dad, is there anything that they taught you that helped you when you got into Europe? Are there some things that they taught you that helped you when you had to go fight?
Well, I guess mainly it'd be stick up for myself.
Okay. Tell me about your schooling. Kind of start me where you started the school and then get me through high school.
Well, I started school in Missouri and moved back to Colorado when I was in about the third grade, and I finished school in Colorado. I didn't graduate from high school. I went 10th grade.
What did you do when you left school?
Well, just first one thing, then the other. I was working for a fellow run a junkyard. I sawed up kindling wood, just whatever do to make a living.
Okay. Were you still living at home then?
Yes, ma'am.
With your mom? Okay. Tell me what got you in to World War II. What were you doing up there, and what were the circumstances that you got in the Army, and kind of give me that story there.
Well, I tried to enlist.
And what year was that?
1943.
Okay.
I tried to enlist, and they wouldn't let me enlist because I was in draft age. So I went down to draft board and volunteered my number up.
What was your number?
Of a draft number, I have no idea. I didn't even try to remember that.
What about you made you do that? Why did you want to do that?
Well, Probably because Buddy was joining the Navy. And I ended up I took basic at Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Okay, so when did you end up at Fort Knox?
Approximately May 8th, 1943.
When you think about the day that you went to Fort Knox, what are the memories, the smells? What do you remember about that first day at Fort Knox?
Why did I do it?
What about it? What made you think that?
Well, I wasn't used to the heat down there, and I didn't like the training.
Tell me some about that training.
Well, it had to be get up so early and do what they wanted you to do. I wasn't really used to that.
You were 18?
I'd be 19.
Okay, 19. Okay, so how long were you?
That's why I couldn't enlist, because I was over 18.
How long were you at Fort Knox?
Well, till September of 43. I don't remember the dates there. Transferred to, 12th Armored Division. I was on Tennessee maneuvers at the time.
Okay, so you joined the 12th while they were on the maneuvers.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go participate in those?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about your role in the Tennessee maneuvers.
Well, I was transferred, went into 44th Tank Battalion, light tanks. And I was out there approximately 30 days, and I got my right eye injured. Went to hospital at Thayer General Hospital in Nashville. When I got out of there, the 12th was in Camp Barkley, Texas. And the 44th was getting ready to go overseas to the South Pacific. And I couldn't pass their physical with my eye injured. I couldn't see sight radicals in the periscope, so they transferred me into the 17th Armored Infantry Battalion.
How did you feel about that?
I was kind of disappointed because I had to walk in. What
kind of tanks did you use? I
was in the light tanks. I don't remember what, because I wasn't in them about 30 days.
Were you a driver or what?
Oh, I was a assistant driver. But when I got when I got back to the company, they was filled up with drivers, and I tried to qualify for gunner, and I couldn't see the sight radical. That's why I ended up in the infantry.
In the infantry. Did you go by yourself, or was there a group that they sent on to Texas when you got back to Campbell?
Well, no, there was two of us. We ended up down to another camp from the hospital, and then they repo depots is what we call them. And
what did you?
Repo depots.
Repo depots?
Yeah, I don't know where the name come from.
So that meant that they were sending you?
Yeah, it's a transfer place. You assemble here, and then they get your orders to go somewhere else. There was two of us went from there to Camp Barkley, Texas.
Tell me your first impression of Texas.
I liked it because I stopped off in Fort Worth for a while.
So when did you end up in Abilene at Barkley? Do you remember the day, the year?
No, that would have been sometime in, let's see, it was probably the first week of December. Because I got left, that would have been Camp Force, Tennessee, where transfer stations were. I was there Thanksgiving Day, but I don't remember pulling guard duty on prisoners of war Thanksgiving Day.
Wow. Well, so they already had prisoners of war?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Had a lot of SS prisoners down there. And I had no idea whereabouts in Tennessee that was at.
Okay. So then you ended up at Camp Barkley. Tell me, which unit did they put you in?
Company A, 17th Armored Infantry Battalion. That is after they transferred me out of the tanks.
Is there a certain person that you remember when you first came to Camp Barkley?
Well, it was Sergeant Walker, Captain Hilton.
Tell me about Sergeant Walker. As a man, what do you remember about him, and as a leader?
I thought he was an awful good leader. He was reasonable, let you get away with some things as long as it didn't get him into trouble. He was a regular cavalryman before the war started. He was in the regular cavalry. I think they were much better officer, better non-coms, and one to come up through, just pushed in there. We had several sergeants come in from the cavalry.
Tell me what you remember about Captain Hilton and what he was like as a leader and your impressions. Because I want to know what you thought about him in the beginning and then what you thought about him at the end of this thing.
Well, I thought he was pretty fair sometimes. We had our differences, had our arguments, but I really think he was fairly fair. He was younger than I really thought he was. Being a captain at that time, I figured he was at least 30, and he was only about 3 years older than I am. I figured I could do it more than what he could.
So what happened when you and Captain Hilton got tangled up?
Well, I stayed over leave 2 days. And then he restricted me to the company area, and I asked him for a pass to go to town. He didn't agree. He didn't appreciate that any.
Okay, what?
But he didn't let me give him the full story. Because I just come in on the bus, and all my clothes was at the bus station. And I didn't have anything to change to. But he never let me tell him that.
So he was would you call him a pretty tough captain?
Well, yeah, I guess he was strict. But I really never had any problem with him that I didn't ask for.
Okay. When you think about Company A, who was the person, were you close to a specific person?
Not really. I tried to stay away from that.
Why was that, Wes?
Well, I figured if I got in combat, I didn't want to be too close to anybody. I'm kind of a loner anyhow. Then I did get real close to 2 after we got overseas.
And who were those men?
One was Ray Landis. That was the first one. And he did he didn't exactly get wounded. He got knocked out by concussion, ended up in the hospital, never come back to company. And then the other one was John Brittis from New York City, New York, somewhere up. And him and I went the rest of the way through together.
So y'all made it through.
That's really the only 2 that I got close to till after the war was over.
Do you think a lot of you guys did that? Kind of kept a distance so you wouldn't have to deal with that?
Yeah, I didn't want to be too close to anybody if they got killed or wounded. I didn't want to have to worry about it.
So when you look at that, when you look at the way you felt about that, so how did you perceive your job and your relationship with the other people in your company? Or your unit, I'm sorry.
Well, I just followed orders, I guess. That's just whatever was supposed to be done, I tried to do.
Okay. Tell me about some of the training that went on at Barclay.
Oh, that was tough. In that heat.
What was the toughest part?
Oh, probably bayonet course. And I don't remember too much about it now. But that old heat down there and crawling around those obstacle courses and bayonet training. Of course, I worked in the field most of my life, so I was better off than a lot of them as far as the heat was concerned.
Did they push y'all a lot physically? Did they tire you out? Did they work you pretty hard to get you ready for battle?
Oh yes, they gave you a real hard training. I wasn't very big then. I was about 130 pounds. I had a hard time keeping up with some of the bigger guys, especially when I was carrying packs and stuff.
Tell me about the packs, your training. Were they the same packs, the kind of same packs that you went ahead and carried in a battle?
Pretty much so. Of course, we didn't carry as much. We carried what we wanted to when we went in battle.
Tell me what was in your pack. Can you remember the things that were in your pack?
All your mess gear, your change of clothes, or personal stuff, shaving, toothbrushes and stuff like that. And blanket, as well as in training, blanket, shoulder half. Well, I don't remember what all
what?
was.
A shoulder what?
Well, that's half a tent.
Oh.
Pup tent. When if you stayed out, if you slept out at night, why, if you and someone else pitched a tent and made a full tent, which I didn't carry after I got overseas.
Why is that?
I had more important things to carry than that. Ammunition.
Okay, let's get you to New York City. Y'all left Barclay. Did y'all go straight to New York?
Yeah, we went from Camp Barclay to Camp Shanks, New York. I never did figure out whereabouts in New York that was. Not to this day.
Did y'all go straight to there, or did y'all kind of wander across the country?
Oh, it took us, seemed like forever. I don't know what, I think we was on the train about 4 or 5 days. I think we went way down south Texas and back through Louisiana, but I don't know for sure.
On those trains, were they set up with seats and benches? I've never heard anybody tell us about what the trains were like, the troop
Well, they
trains.
were similar to Pullman. We had beds make down at night. Other than that, well, they were just regular. Where you was going to be on them for several days, I guess if you just on them for one day, well, they were just a plain old coach. That's the best I remember. They're just a regular Pullman.
Okay. So y'all went across the Atlantic. Does anything stick out in your mind about your traveling across?
Not really, no. It was a real calm trip.
Do you remember some of your thoughts as you were crossing the Atlantic, knowing that you're fixing to go to war?
Not really. The only thing I was thinking about is forgot to blew out of the water, and I can't swim. Not very far, anyhow.
Okay, let's get to, y'all went to England.
We landed at Liverpool October the 2nd, I believe it was, 1944.
Tell me your remembrances of that time in England and what you did and as you got ready to go across the channel.
Well, we ended up close to Southampton. I don't know, I can't remember the name of the town now. Tidworth, I think, Tidworth Barracks. And it was the fall of the year, and I didn't like it because it was too damp and cold. That's about the most I remember.
You got your weapons in England, right?
Right,
Okay.
yeah, they were put in Cosmoline, stored before we went overseas, and then we had to clean them when we landed there in England.
Tell me about the whole array of your weaponry that they gave you before you went to
Well, I was a rifleman, so that's the only one that after we got over there that I can really say anything on.
Can you tell me the name of that rifle and describe it and all that stuff?
There's a M1 semi-automatic. Great rifle, I think. I'd rather have that than the ones they got now, personally.
What, I don't know, the weight of the bullets, the size of the bullets?
I think the rifle weighed somewhere around 8 pounds. I'm not sure anymore. And then the ammunition, how many you wanted to carry.
Oh, wow. So you just kind of filled up however many?
I carried all I could carry, and heck with anything else.
So what did you end up? You came out with ammunition, and what else did you take in your pack?
Grenades, carried a spoon. I could eat anything there was I needed to eat with a spoon. Excuse me. I was more interested in ammunition than I was eating, really.
So when you went, as you look back, was the war what you expected? You took a lot of ammunition, you took your grenades, you were ready to go do this. You really were, you took everything, the most amount that your body could carry. Looking back, was it what you expected?
Just about. Yeah. Wasn't pleasant. I'd say it's pretty much what I expected.
What got you ready? What got your expectations to there, where you weren't kind of naive about what you were fixing to do? Is there a person or the training, or what got your mind and body ready to know what to expect?
I would say it was the training. Mostly the training, anyhow. I was never one to worry about too much. I still don't. Never worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. Wait till tomorrow to worry about it. I'm still pretty much that way.
Tell me, do you remember how you reacted the first time you landed in France?
Well, when we landed, they were pretty well up, quite a ways into France. We'd landed, let's see, about 5 months after D-Day. And we got quite a ways in before we really got into combat. We landed at Le Havre, and we spent probably a week there before we started moving on inland.
Did you become impatient, or was that okay?
So, what happens tomorrow? Just like here, what happened tomorrow? I'll be here.
Okay, the guys in the A Company. Do you remember the names of those men that were with you? There were 12 of you?
12 in the squad. I don't remember. I remember the sergeant's name that we went into combat with. That was Sergeant Logue. I think that's the only one I remember his name of.
Out of those 12 men, how many of you made it the whole way through the war?
I did. think I was the only one in the squad that did. I ain't never got even wounded. Some of them was wounded and come home, but
When you think about that, how do you feel about that? Do you have any feelings about being the only one getting through? And
well,
do you ever philosophize about that?
I wonder who was looking over me. If someone besides myself. I had a lot of help.
Knowing that, has that made a difference in your life?
In a way. I don't know whether it was the Lord that helped me through, or whether it was my mother, or doing the praying, or both. So I've always ended up with someone looking over me knew more what I needed than what I wanted.
Thanks.
And I think it's still going that way.
Those first, before Herlisheim, is there any combat, was there any place that stands out in your mind?
Well, I guess town of the battle that we got into at Herlisheim would be the biggest one, and then the next one would be Colmar Pocket. That's where we had some roughest times.
When y'all, first village you went into, which one was that?
I do not remember.
Do you have any specific memories, like the first time you really went into combat, you really went into battle, you really went into a town, you really faced them? Tell me about that.
Well, we sat there and held for a couple days before we started pushing. And there was dead soldiers when we did advance. Well, there was dead soldiers laying all over, and that shook me up pretty good that first day. After that, something's got to be done. There's no use worrying about it.
When did you get in the most fierce battle? Would it have been Herlisheim would be the first kind of heavy stuff that you
Yeah, that was
faced?
our first real heavy battle.
Before that, were you basically just kind of going through towns and clearing them out?
Mm-hmm.
How would you do that? What was the process of going in and clearing out, checking towns?
Well, you just go through and clear each building and
Did you go door to door, room to
door
room?
to door, go through the buildings till you got the other end of town. An armored division, their basic objective is just to spearhead and branch off to, well, I guess we might call it get them in pockets. And get others come up through there and clear the pockets. That's what the armored division's purpose was spearheading. Break through and circle them.
So basically what you're saying is y'all were the first ones to hit.
Usually. You know,
Did that make a difference in how y'all felt? Did it bring pride, or just you knew that y'all were the first ones? Most of the time, y'all gonna be the first ones there, and y'all were gonna get the roughest stuff.
really didn't have time to think about something like that. Or I didn't anyhow.
So Wes, did you just kind of put it in drive and go?
Did I what?
Did you just kind of put yourself in drive and you just went?
Yeah, just follow whoever's in front of me. It's usually the squad leader.
So why were you up close to the squad leader?
Well, I don't know. I just kind of my position is I had the first scout out there and the second scout. And squad leader, and I kind of followed him
Okay. Well, it worked, didn't it?
over to one side.
Okay. Tell me about going into Herlesheim, the things that you remember.
I don't remember that much about it. There's some of them remember a lot more than I did.
So you're not one of the groups that got pinned down, or you weren't captured or anything?
No,
were
I
you?
wasn't captured.
Okay.
I wasn't wounded.
So in Herlesheim, you were in battle, but you weren't in some of those.
Well, there's some of the heavy fire, yeah.
Okay. Tell me about it, what you remember then.
Well, I don't remember that much about it, because they hit us and I ran out of ammunition and I left.
When you ran out of ammunition, did you just retreat back?
Uh-huh. Yeah, nobody, I don't think there was an order ever given to pull back. Whenever you get a chance to get out of there, well, we did.
In a situation like that, do you go back to, was there somebody behind you where you got more ammunition and things like that?
Well, they was trying to get ammunition to us, but they got cut off. I don't know the full details on that.
So the day after, how did you find out, or did you ever really know how bad Herlesheim was on the 12th Armored Division?
Not at the time, no. Not till after it's all over and we regrouped. And
Where did y'all regroup at?
a little village right out of Herlesheim, 2 miles, 3 miles.
At that point, I guess you didn't really know who was dead and who was wounded and who was...
I had no idea where anybody was.
If you were to guess, how many of y'all reassembled? Do you even have any idea?
I have no idea. When we reassembled and went up there and helped, well, they brought in cooks and half-track drivers, anyone that they could spare up to the front, and dug in and hold them.
So y'all dug in and held for, did you wait for replacement troops?
We waited for, I believe it was a 36-foot infantry division that they moved up there to relieve us. I'm not positive, but that's what sticks in my mind.
Okay. Was that, well, no, you weren't thinking about tomorrow, were you?
No.
You didn't think about what was going to come next. Okay. Where did you go after that? What was your next?
I don't remember the name. I remember very few names of the towns that we was ever in. But we regrouped and got replacements, and then the first part of February we went into Colmar Pocket and cleaned that out.
Tell me about Colmar, the things you remember, the impressions.
Well, I don't remember too much about that either. I just tried to forget all of it. I didn't figure I'd ever be interviewed or meet anybody that I was in there with, so I just forgot about it. After 50 years, you don't try to remember it.
Okay. Do you remember, okay, you got into Colmar Pocket. Then after that, you headed across Germany, didn't you?
Yeah, that was in the first part of February. We went, I don't know, have any idea where we went, and then we ended up spearheading Patton in March to the Rhine River. I don't remember too much about that either.
Did you ever see Patton?
I think we did. I think he was up there one time, but I don't remember for sure.
You were, 17th, y'all weren't in on the liberation of the camps, were you?
Yes, we were
Were you?
with Lordsburg.
Lordsburg. Do you have memories of that or what it was like?
Not really. I remember seeing a few of them, of the prisoners in there. It was just skin and bone. But I didn't realize that we was even there till I was in Washington last year. I had no recollection of liberating them at that time.
Okay, when, so you went across Germany, you liberated the camps. What is the next thing that kind of came in your memories?
Just going on through is about all I can say. Is we went through Augsburg and headed south and southeast is about all I remember.
What was the countryside like? Was it like just going through the country, or was there a lot of war? Was it kind of just destroyed, or tell me about the lake covers?
Building was almost all the villages was destroyed, and the larger cities, Frankfurt and Munich and all them, they just rubble. A lot of the smaller villages some of them was pretty well shot up. Mainly on the smaller villages was from resistance. They'd get shelled from both sides as we was taking them. But the larger cities was bombed. Other than that, why, I don't remember too much.
Do you remember the day that you found out that the war was over?
Yeah.
Tell me about that day.
Well, in a way it was disappointing. Didn't have no excitement the next day. And after it kind of sunk in, well, we made it.
Who was the person that brought the news to you, or was it just sort of a rumor?
It was just kind of floated through the air. I don't I don't really remember. Well, we knew it. They pulled us off 2 days before they signed, and because we knew it was over then. So we were sitting back, probably we had to pull us back 10 or 15 miles, I would say. Because we'd been relieved up there where we was at with the prison. We had prisoners, and they relieved us of them, and I forget even who relieved us now.
When you, how many points did you have at the end of the war? Or was it enough to go home, or?
No, it was not enough to go home and too many to be sent to Japan. I was in between.
Oh, tell me about how that worked. I've never been told exactly how that worked.
I forgot that too. I think you got it was 1 point for each month you was in the States. Something like 2 points for time overseas. I about forgot. I think I had something like 50 points. But I just don't remember.
Well, what happened to you then? You didn't have enough points to.
Well, I was transferred from 12th Armored Division, and they was breaking up to come home, and I was transferred into the 1st Armored Division, and that's what the division I come home with is 1st Armored.
So how long were you there after the war ended?
I left there in March of 46. So I was there about 8 months after the war was over, full occupation.
Then you came back to the States. Where did you leave from in Europe to head back to the States? Did y'all leave from France again, or?
Yeah, I left from Le Havre, landed in New Jersey, Camp Kilmer, New Jersey, and then transferred to Fort Leavenworth, and then I was discharged at Fort Leavenworth.
Do you think after you got through with the war, did you work in one one job the rest of your life, or what did you do after the war?
Oh, I've done a lot of jobs. I was working packing plant when I went to the service, and I went back there and worked till 51. Then I worked for the Shell Chemical Company for a while. That was shift work I didn't like, so I left that and went worked for a steel company. Took that temporarily till I could find something better and retired from it 34 years later. Ended up being truck driver over the road for them.
As you look back over your life, did your service in World War II, did it make a lot of differences in who you are? Do you think it made a difference?
Oh, in a way. I guess I didn't let anyone push me around too much after I come out. For before, I guess I was on the timid side. Other than that, I don't see much change.
Okay.
Of course, I don't know if everybody would agree with that.
As you look back, I want you to talk to me before we have to quit. A few minutes, tell me about what the 12th Armored Division has meant to you and your relationship with it, the group, your reunions and stuff like that.
Well, I think personally, I think it's one of the best outfits that I was in, because people seem to get along so good. I don't remember very many arguments. I don't remember, they said there was 2 guys got in a fight, and I didn't see that. They said neither one of them could fight, so it didn't amount to much. But other than that, I don't remember too much.
Has the association, has that been good for you as men who came back from the war? Has y'all's contact with each other after the war been a good, positive thing?
Well, I've kept in contact with one since come back. Till they got in contact with me several years later for this organization. Well, I never knew anything about it, and I figured I'd never see any of them again. I don't remember half the names that I probably should remember.
But it's been good for y'all to get to at least be together as an organization. And
I think it's great, because after 55 years, getting this many together every year. And when I was first went into the A Company 17th, I was one of the youngest men in the company. Now, after replacements, after we got overseas, I don't know. I'm sure there was several of them that was younger than I was.
well, is there anything that I've left out that I have forgotten to ask you, or any observations or things
really.
that, if somebody were to look at this tape in 20 years, what would you tell them about your experiences? Is there one last thing you'd like to leave for all posterity?
Just don't worry about tomorrow.
Okay. And it got you through the war, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Wes, I appreciate you talking to us today and finding us and going to the effort to do this. Okay.